Hey everybody, welcome back to Dental Unfiltered. I'm Matt Brown. I'm here with my normal co-host, Dr. Andrew Vallo. This is one of our State of the Startup episodes. I love these episodes. Few dental entrepreneurs are willing to have full transparency in what's going on in their organization. Dr. Vallo loves to provide full transparency. I think when you combine that with the philosophies he applies to the practices, and you see the actual fruit of it, I think it makes it all a lot more valid. I want to thank Dr. Val for always providing full transparency. I think it's critical to the believability of how effective these things are. So, Dr. Val, it's been a couple of years now. You got four practices. We're just coming out of Q2. What's going on in the four practices after Q2, and then what is the plan for the Andrew Vallo freight train going into Q3 and Q4?
Hey, Matt. Hey, guys. Yeah, lots of exciting stuff going on right now. As always, I can't sit still, which is a good and bad problem, but um, things are going well. So, recap for those that haven't heard the recent startup episodes, but I opened my two newest practices, which were startups number 3 and 4, right at the end of January of this year. So, February 2024 was our first full month at those offices. We got out the gate strong and had a really good first couple months, and things are continuing to ramp up there. So we, as of June, we were believe at 4 days a week now for both the new general startup and the new implant startup. 4 days a week is full time in my offices. So I believe in 3 day weekends for my teams. Our teams, our docs, they work really hard on those 4 days. So we're at full time. We started with three dental chairs equipped at the implant startup. We started with 5 chairs at the general startup. I have ordered more chairs, so we've got the fourth chair going in for the implant startup. It's a surgical chair for one of our surgical suites, and we are, I believe, still planning to add some sedation at that office. So that's one of the steps. Is in Florida, you have to have at least one surgical chair, surgical suite, all that stuff. So my partner is the one who's kind of helping us work on getting things going there. We're adding 2 more chairs at the general side that I've ordered, so we'll go from 5 to 7 of the 8 chairs available on that, or 8 rooms available on that side. We're also planning to bring in a second full-time hygienist at the general startup in August. So we've been interviewing hygienists. So again, we opened in February with one full-time hygienist, and then about 6 months later, we'll be adding the second full-time hygienist, which I planned intentionally so that when my first hygienist has a recall schedule that's developed, it's not going to be full, but she'll have recalls, from the first 6 months. Then we bring in the second full-time hygienist who will just be seeing new patients. So that's essentially where things are at the startups. Going very well. Our Q2 numbers. So Q2, guys, is April, May, and June. So it's 3 months. Our cumulative Q2 for the implant startup, we collected $762,000 in those 3 months. Our general startup, we collected $347,000 in those 3 months. So obviously, implant startup is still kind of blowing the general out of the water. It's a mixture of the lag in the insurance reimbursements, as well as just the fact that we're doing these full arch surgeries 4 days a week basically now. So makes it a little bit easier to really have those high collection numbers early on. That said, still very happy with Q2 at the general office. I mean, we're averaging 115,000 a month in collections, and even a little bit more in production there after our being open about 6 months here, or not even 6 months. My other offices, my other implant office collected 561,000 in those 3 months. So that office is doing really well. The new implant startup, I think, just based on a few factors, is just really outperforming at this point in time. And then my flagship office still is kind of our heavyweight for the organization. That one collected $903,000 in those 3 months.
The flagship office at 903 and a quarter.
Yeah, we're averaging about 300,000 a month in collections there.
Oh, good job.
So cumulative for our organization in Q2, we collected just a little bit over 2.5 million in those 3 months. and extrapolate it out for 12 months, if we could repeat that quarter 4 times, we're looking at about 10.3 million for the organization. So the goal this year that I had set, for us was to break 10 million. Q1 was a little bit lower because we were just opening those 2 new offices, which didn't even open in, like I said, until basically the end of January, start of February. But as we continue to ramp things up, I am optimistic that we're going to get there, especially if I can get startup 5 and even potentially startup 6 opened before the end of the year. Guys, the reason why the timelines are so quick on my the new startups that I'm working on is because I have been able to find abandoned dental spaces that were already built out. And at some point, we'll probably do a whole episode on this. But the advantages here to doing startups this way is one, the biggest advantage by far is timeline. So when I opened the 2 Riverview offices, which were the ones that opened at the end of January of this year, it was a full build out, ground up construction for the building, build to suit for the interior. I found the project in June of 2022, and we opened in January of 2024. So it took about 18 months from the time I found the project to actually, getting open there, which was a lot longer than the contractor had told me it was going to be, because he had estimated 12 months, so it took about 6 months longer. Either way, we're trying to speed up the growth trajectory of the organization. As much as I like startups, I did not want to keep doing these 12, 18, sometimes even 24-month projects to get another office open. So my original plan this year, and you guys may have heard me talk about this, but I was planning to switch to acquisitions. The problem with that is that, at least in my area, there's a lot of competition. These existing practices, when they go on the market, get gobbled up like in an instant. And a lot of the ones that are going on the market, are 3, 4, 5 ops maybe. And ideally, I'm looking for minimum of 7 for the general practices. Even better if we can get somewhere in the 8 to 10 range. So I found a space in a part of Tampa that we're not currently in, abandoned dental office, build out. It's 2,800 square feet, built out for 8 operatories. But I actually feel like there's a little bit of misuse of space. And from doing a walkthrough and talking, with some of my people, I have a feeling that we can get to at least 9, potentially 10 operatories in that space. But the plan will be, we signed the LOI, actually just this week we signed the LOI. We're going to do some minor cosmetic construction this year to make it look a little bit more like my boutique offices. We're going to get chairs in there because there's no chairs right now. So we're going to get all the equipment, sterilization, iTero scanner, all that good stuff, computers, IT. But we don't have to do the general build out. So it's going to save us money. It's going to save us time. We're going to open before the end of 2024. Right now, I'm actually hoping we'll get open sometime in October. It's going to help me with my tax burden for this year. So when you do a startup, as I talked about on the episode about taxes, you can essentially write off just about 100% of the costs that go into that. So, this project, I'm estimating about 500,000 total. And that's going to include some of the construction that we're going to do in the future. So we'll do minor cosmetic construction. We'll get the equipment. We'll start pulling permits for some of the more major construction to try to get a few more operatories in there. And then probably next year in 2025, we'll do that construction to add the other ops. And the plan will be that we'll still be able to keep the office open and running while that construction's going on. So we'll just probably put a temporary wall or something up and kind of wall off that space. So that's startup number 5. And then startup number 6, I actually just happened to stumble across the space, and it's a very similar situation to the one I just described. We haven't even begun the lease negotiations yet. There's still a little bit more groundwork to do there. But, these opportunities only come up so often, and especially when I find them in parts of the market that we're not currently in, I'm very motivated to jump in there. So at least for the time being, guys, it looks like I'm sticking with the startup trend, and not going the acquisition route just yet. If anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about these type of startups, and trying to find some of these spaces and stuff like that, feel free to reach out. My best advice is, form a good connection with some of the commercial realty guys in your areas, people like that work at places like Car, because they're the ones who are going to find out, when these abandoned dental spaces kind of come on the market, for a lease. And usually the landlords are looking for another dentist to come in. They know that typically dentists are good clients that are going to be there for the entirety of their lease, and it's already essentially built out for them. So it's easier than having somebody else come in and need to, repurpose the entire space. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now, Matt.
Yeah, Andrew, I look at this data every day, across startups, across DI, across everything, and you know, to have one practice grow or double or triple in size in 2 or 3 years is pretty awesome. To have four do it and now be planning five and six could be daunting for some people. Just for the last couple minutes, really quick, docs sit there and they go, "I want to grow this," right? And there's some level of intimidation in the process part of it. Like I got to go do all this stuff, and that I get scared. And they go, I'm just okay with this. Just real quick, what would you say to a doc to get over that intimidation? What inside you is like, I just got, we was it this past October, you just did startup 3 and 4, and now we're going into 5 and 6. Like,
They just opened this end of this January. So they've only been open for 5 months. Yeah.
and now you're doing 5 and 6. You're
Yep.
starting 5 and 6.
Well, at least 5. Like I said, we've already signed the LOI. Six, we're still kind of doing that initial background work, but hopefully we'll be moving forward with that one soon too.
So what would you tell a doc to like get over that intimidation of growth, like the scariness of the process? What would you tell them? Just one, like, real quick, what would you tell them?
I can't tell you how many days I've sat there and thought, like, did I bite off more than I can chew? Or you just think about the insurmountable amount of work that's going to take to get there. And then next thing you know, you blink and another year goes by and that project's already done and that office is open and it's producing revenue for you and your team's grown and all that stuff. So I think it's like anything else, man. You've got to have confidence in yourself. You've got to know that, whatever it's going to take, you're going to get the job done and you're going to get the project completed and you're going to get that startup off the ground and running. I will say, as I've grown, I've definitely needed more help. And I think that's been another reason why I've been able to grow so successfully. We often talk about that abundance versus scarcity mindset. And I think a lot of times dentists are scared to hire the help that they need, whether that be, hiring a professional like an attorney, a great specific dental CPA, a consultant, a coach, or even the team members within your organization.
Oh, there's some smart people in your organization.
I typically hire for roles before I truly feel like I need them. Whereas I think a lot of I'm proactive with hiring, whereas I feel like a lot of dentists are reactive. So like in my mind, as I knew that I was going to be trying to, open another office or two this year, I've been hiring and looking for additional team members. Obviously like the offices will need team members. So I'm going to need associate doctors, hygienists, assistants, front office managers, all that stuff, but also people on your leadership team. So like once you get past one or two offices, you really need some help at the top. And I would say the sooner that you can budget it and bring them in, the better. I brought in an executive assistant. We're creating operations manager role. We're actually my dad, as many of you guys know, we brought him in as a fractional CFO. So the thing is, like, when you've got a ton going on and you're continuing to grow, you physically cannot do it all yourself. Like, there is no way, even if I never saw my wife and kid and stopped. I mean, I only see patients 1 day a week clinically, but stopped, even that day, was putting in 120 hours a week. There is so much that needs to get done. I could never do it all myself. But by adding additional leadership team members, and I'll tell you what, I've realized it is really powerful to have team members outside of the office, because think about how chaotic and busy the offices are, how much there's going on there. Like, yeah, your office manager may be able to help you with some stuff here or there, maybe your lead assistant can help you do something outside the whatever it is. But for the most part, their main job is just making sure that your office is running seamlessly and your patients are taken care of. They don't have a ton of time to help you with outside the office type of tasks. So, hiring executive assistants, those are other people that are basically taking a ton of stuff off my plate. And I'm still working a lot. Don't get me. I had a dentist that I know from my mastermind group. He was texting me this morning and he asked me, how many hours a week do you think you're working? And I said, well, I'm seeing patients the 1 day a week. I said all together between that 1 day clinically and non-clinically, I'm probably about 60 to 70 hours a week right now. And that's with all the help that I have. But honestly, I'm trying to cut it back even further. So, my goal as we continue to grow, I'm trying to create even more work-life balance by adding additional key team members. I'm already thinking about, as we get through these next phases of growth and continue to add more offices, we're going to add regional manager and then probably multiple regional managers, as we expand, through different parts outside the Tampa Bay market. I'm planning on probably hiring like an HR director. I feel like once your organization hits a certain point, you really need someone who's outside of the offices, whose key focus is HR. We're probably going to hire a hiring coordinator. You got at 4 offices, we already pretty much always have some position that we're hiring for. As we get to 6, 8, 10, it's going to get tougher and tougher. My executive assistant kind of took over the initial round interviews for us. If it's depending on the position, sometimes office manager will do the second round. Sometimes my father, our CFO, will do the second round. If it's a key position, I'm typically doing the final round. For certain positions, I'm not even involved in the interview process. But either way, you know, my executive assistant has been like doing Zoom interviews nonstop, trying to hire for these positions. And there's a ton of other stuff I've got him doing too. So eventually we'll need somebody whose sole job it is, just to hire for the organization. So, this is good things to think about. And like, guys, even if you're only at one office right now, it's still good to plan for the future. And like, maybe you won't ever need a hiring director, maybe you won't ever need a regional manager, but I'll tell you what, at some point in time, you're probably going to want and need an executive assistant who you can delegate a lot of your tasks outside the office to. It's going to make your life a lot easier, help you get more work-life balance, help you get more accomplished. So that is probably, my two biggest pieces of advice to those wanting to grow. One, have confidence in yourself and dive in. And two, hire for positions to poise yourself for growth before you really think you need them. Because once you realize you really need some extra help, it's already too late and you're already drowning. So,
All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. This is State of the Startups. It's really exciting to listen to Andrew's dental group grow down in Tampa. The fact he provides full transparency is really awesome. He always posts in the Facebook groups reports on how his group's doing in detail. And he's not doing it to brag. He's doing it to provide inspiration that it can be done and then providing the information of how he did it. Honestly, guys, you're paying for a lot of consultants and stuff out there who have never even done what Andrew's done. You're paying 25 grand a year, 50 grand a year for some of these people. Um, the knowledge that Andrew puts out there and the transparency is honestly, if you have an open mind, priceless. So this is one of my favorite segments we do. I really enjoy it. Guys, please hit like, subscribe, follow, leave a review. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.
thanks, guys.